I can't do it. Okay. We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. F*** it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing sucks.
You're damn right it does. Hey, welcome in. It's another edition of the Daily Puck Drop, huh? We're in a new time slot. We've been upgraded. We've been upgraded a new time slot. It's only an hour late, only 1 hour, and it surprisingly has nothing to do. Kind of bad. My hair's all over the place. Good Lord, I look like I'm a mess. Like I just woke up. Had nothing to do with the go-to guy, Jimmy Moore. Nothing. Jim's not even here today. Part of the what has led to the hiccup of the show starting was in part because there is no go-to guy today. The Daily Puck Drop normally comes live at 10 a.m., but we're live at 11 a.m. We'll give you the full meal deal today to a brand new audience, more of a late lunch or early lunch or late breakfast. I don't know what I was trying to say. We'll give you a full show today. We'll be on the normal kind of routine. Of course, we're live on Twitter. We're live on YouTube, Puck Sports mobile app, all of that kind of stuff. And, of course, you can find the show always later. Podcast always up at YouTube. Please hit the like button, but maybe not today. Hit the hate button. Is there a hate button on YouTube? There might be. Well, I guess thumbs down, right? So just hit the thumbs down. And, of course, your favorite podcast platforms, doesn't matter what it is, Apple, Spotify, does not matter. And, of course, you can find everything up at pucksports.com. We're broadcasting from the Limbeck Lumber Studios. You can see that fine, beautiful sign there right behind me if you're watching and streaming the show. Contractors, they got free deliveries, everything from whole house packages to homeowner DIY projects, the largest stock moldings in the Northwest. Old school service because they've been doing it since 1930. Give Limbeck Lumber a call, 206-782-3487. Visit them at limbecklumber.com. Go to pucksports.com. Might not be the best day to say, sign up for Puck's Posse. Well, what am I going to get late to the show? Probably. Every now and again. Every now and again, we hit a little bit of a speed bump. But go to pucksports.com. You can get, you can join Puck's Posse. You get access to everything that we do here for free. And many of you are wondering, all of it should be free. Yeah, you're right. And then also you get bonus material that we do. We have our sports pit that is out. Mitchie the Kid coming up tomorrow. And normally our MLB Insider show there with Ryan Divish. All right, so here's what happened today. This is the God's honest truth. So, got up. There's no go-to guy today. He was doing a golf. He is a golf marshal, right? We've gone over that. That's what he's doing now. He got called into action this morning. This happened last week, and then they told him 10 minutes before, "Hey, don't worry about it. You don't got to come in." Anyways. So he's like, "Well, do you want to record it? This is last night. We can do it." And I said, "No, I got stuff going on, baseball stuff. I'm going to be home late. So don't worry about it." I said, "What I'm going to do," and I thought about this before we get to the All-Star break because Divish is on today. Thought I wanted to bring on a couple of guests with Divish and do kind of a first half, the old school roundtable of the first half of the Mariners season. So I said, all right, we'll get Divish on, and then we'll get Adam Jude and Tim Booth. Adam Jude and Tim Booth are the two primary guys that are filling in, covering Divish as he takes his sabbatical to yell and scream at umpires as he is the manager, the coach of the red-hot Havre North Stars, who are like 28-10, 19-3 in conference play. It's the best record they've ever had, large part because of the manager, the little fire hydrant, okay? So I said, let's get you all three on together. They're obviously with the team. Condotta's filled in a few times as well. So I want to give shout out to Bob. So I said, we'll get Jude on. We'll get Booth on. Booth is with the team right now. He's in New York City. He's covering the last road trip. And we'll get Divish on. We'll put our heads together and we'll spend an hour. That's how long it is an hour of breaking down the Mariners. First half thoughts, the expectations, just everything you can think of. Cal Raleigh, trades, Julio, all of them. So we start this morning around 8:30. We get done a little bit before 8:30. We get done at 9:20. And normally it uploads real fast. One of us, it's not me, has the world's worst internet. I mean, the worst internet ever. And it was causing, because of that internet, the show not to upload. That's why it was, and it literally from 9:20 to, I think it finally got uploaded around 10:40. An hour and 20 minutes. No, this will make no sense to any of you. Normally, something like this would take 5 minutes. That max. Maybe a little bit longer. But an hour and 20 minutes. And the best part about this that was hysterical, well, I kept my cool, which is amazing, which was hysterical. It shows you how much the percentage it's uploaded. It was at 91%, probably 10 minutes after we stopped. So it was from like 9:30 to around 10:15, 10:20, 10:25, 91%. Just stuck the whole time. So you can guess of the three who had the bad internet. I'll let you guys. You can guess in the YouTube chat who had the bad internet that caused this to be delayed. But that's okay. It's fun. It's part of the story. It's uploaded now. It's ready to go. We'll play it here in a few minutes. It's great because those three guys, they know the team inside and out, and it's something we wanted to do just as we head into the All-Star break, is just look at where they're at in the first half of the season. And, the expectations of this team, the frustrations of this team, because we're all frustrated by it, but we love them. We love them because we keep tuning in every single day to watch the damn thing, because you can't get enough of it. Because that's what being a fan. That's the great thing about being a fan, is you get angry with your team, you get mad about your team, but you still watch your team. You still love your team. So, apologies for being late today. We'll still do the full show for you. We'll talk quickly about the M's last night. Quickly about which was just a fabulous night of baseball, by the way. And then we'll get to our Mariners roundtable with Ryan Divish, Adam Jude, Tim Booth. Again, that weekly appearance with Divish, all brought to you by Chalet Bowl. And of course, we close out the show with Hey, What the Puck. But hey, we might have new audience members. I don't know. But thank you for sticking with us. Apologies that you had to probably listen to some other stuff, because I know how painful that must be for many of you. All right. Mariners last night. God, just a crapper of a game. You got Logan Gilbert, who's pitching his ass off. He retires with 11 of his first 12 guys. Had not given up a single or hit until Bellinger, right? And then the rain hits, and you're like, really? And you just knew right when it hit, the way that he was rolling, you're like, it's not good. It's anytime there's a delay like this and a guy's pitching like that or performing like that, he's just not going to come back. And you can sit there and debate whether or not it was the right decision to pitch him or not. I didn't have a fault with it. Some were going to have a fault with him going back out there. It wasn't that long of a time. He kept warm. He was pitching fine. He was pitching good. I had no issue with Dan Wilson throwing him back out there. He ran into a buzzsaw of a great lineup, and I think really a lineup, I think there too, doesn't particularly have good numbers there as well. But anyways, for the rain delay, he was fantastic. Again, 11 of the first 12. After that, 5 runs, 6 hits, 2 innings, and then it was all over from there. And this stretch, Tim Booth wrote about this today in the Seattle Times. He's right. This is a great litmus test where this organization or where this particular team is at, because these next 12 games, again, all playoff teams. How they conclude this All-Star break, how they start the All-Star break. Again, 2 more against the Yankees. Then they go to Detroit. Then they open up with Houston. And then they get Milwaukee. My God, Milwaukee, Duquette and I talked about on Monday. Milwaukee's playing great. Have they taken the first 2 of the series against the Dodgers? I believe they have. Mizorowski last night was great. Gave up a solo home run to Ohtani. That was part of a great night of baseball last night. And then just shut them down after that. But so, yeah, we're going to find out a lot about this team. They are either going to stay in it prove to everyone what kind of team they are, or they're going to bury themselves here real quick and have the potential to bury themselves real quick. And Houston's not slowing down. The lead is, 6.5 games now in the West. You're going to hear about it when we talk our roundtable with Divish, Jude, and Booth. And Ryan made a great point. You can look at 6.5 games and go, oh, it's not a lot. And technically it's not a lot. But things have got to happen, right? You've got to go on a great winning streak, which I guess they're capable of doing. But normally you need a red-hot offense to kind of do that for you. And then you need Houston to kind of fall apart a little bit. And I don't think there's any signs of Houston, doing that. I don't think that's the type of team they are. I guess the good news of the game last night, other than Yes Network, zooming in on Cal Raleigh's ass all night. Raleigh hit his 36th home run, Judge 35th home run, or 34th home run, I should say. And Cal just continues to have an historic season, passing legends all over the place. Ken Griffey Jr. is the greatest and the most beautiful baseball player I've ever seen. And he will always be the greatest baseball player that I have ever seen. So when you're someone like Cal Raleigh, to surpass Ken Griffey Jr., for people that are in my wheelhouse of age and fandom, to pass him and to hit more home runs in the first half of the season than him, it's everything. I didn't think anybody would be able to do that, not in a Mariners uniform. So kudos to him. He just continues to have just an unbelievable season. And I thought about this, and I think it was either Varel or Calkins wrote about it. And they're right. Like, if they don't get into the postseason, you're going to look back on this year and go, you still appreciate the individual accomplishments of Cal, but I think you're going to go, it doesn't mean as much unless they get in. 36 home runs. I know the baseball information department had this for the Mariners. Alex Mayer, who does a great job for the organization. 36 home runs, 75 RBIs before the break. Here are the other players to accomplish that feat. By the way, he's the only catcher to ever do it. The other players, now, two of them make sense. One, you're like, really? Let's get to the one, really? Chris Davis is the really one, 2013. Mark McGwire, 98. All right. And then Reggie Jackson in 1969. I mean, think about that. Think about the club that he is joining. It's just phenomenal. Just an absolutely phenomenal, remarkable season again there for Cal Raleigh. Today, as they'll be on the mound, Logan Evans will get the start against, how are we pronouncing his name? Cam, I really want to say, is it Schittler? Because that's what it sounds like. Schittler? I don't know. I'm just going to go with Cam Schittler. Because that's, to me, is what it looks like. 24 years old. He's making his major league debut tonight. 14 games started between AA and AAA. His last AAA start was terrible, by the way. And he's a big kid, though. 6'6", 225. He gave up 6 earned runs in 2 1/3 innings. So there you go. They get the old Schittler on the mound here tonight for the New York Yankees. I mentioned this before we get to the roundtable. Really, what an unbelievable night in baseball. It really was. Like, I know there's some baseball fans out there. You're just kind of a Mariners fan. You don't watch the rest of baseball. And there's a lot of people out there like that. But if you're sicko, if you're a sicko like me, and sickos out there who just love the sport and will watch any game they get their hands onto, the two inside the park home runs last night, Lawrence Butler for the A's. He led off the game last night for the A's with an inside the park home run, which is amazing about that inside the park home run last night for Lawrence Butler there on Tuesday, was you go back and watch the video and watch him jogging to first base because he thought he hit it out and then realized, oh shit, I didn't hit it out. I got to go now. And then he just afterburners and just makes it all the way around. And then the night is concluded, because that was a day game, by the way, I believe. It was early on. And then the night is concluded with Patrick Bailey, which was an awesome inside the park home run, a game-winning inside the park home run as the Giants beat the Phillies 4-3. Ricocheted off the facade there in center field, bouncing all the way around. It was just awesome. And he's sprinting around, scores the winning run. There really is nothing cooler than an inside the park home run. It just reminds you kind of Little League. Padres last night, they had a 1-0 victory over Arizona. That game was awesome. Jackson Merrill and Fernando Tatis made 2 just amazing catches out at the wall. So that was sensational. I mentioned this a little earlier. If you didn't tune into the Brewers-Dodgers game last night, it's just beautiful. I mean, you want pitching, you go watch that, what the Brewers did to the Dodgers last night. Jacob Mizorowski was phenomenal. This tall drink of water, baby face, it just throws gas, and all those guys were throwing gas. The other guys that came in after Mizorowski, the other, was it 2 or 3, other 3 guys, they're all touching like 99. They average like 99, every one of them. And Mizorowski had given up the home run, the solo shot to Ohtani, and then just bam, 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 strikes out 12. That was an awesome game. The Guardians beat the Astros last night. Just another phenomenal game on a walk-off grand slam by Angel Martinez for a 10-6 win. So just a great night of baseball last night there in the MLB. All right, enough of me yapping and talking. You're going to hear more of me, actually. So Ryan Divish joins us every single week, courtesy there of Chalet Bowl. Big thanks to Chalet Bowl, Washington's oldest operating bowling alley, been serving the community since 1941, located down there in beautiful Tacoma in the Proctor district. So I thought that Divish and I would bring on and welcome a couple of guests. So we have Adam Jude and Tim Booth of the Seattle Times on this week with us. And those 2 guys are filling in for Divish this year this summer, as Divish takes the sabbatical to cover his stepson's baseball team. He's the head coach. If you don't know, I'm sure many of you do, he's the head coach of the Havre North Stars, his stepson's travel ball team there in Havre, Montana. So those 2 guys, along with Bob Cadeau, filled in on games this year. So we got them all together to talk about where the Mariners are at right now, how the first half of the season is gone, expectations of the second half, trade deadline, Cal Raleigh's historic season, Julio Rodriguez, all the storylines surrounding your Seattle Mariners with the 3 of the best guys who have covered the team. Adam Jude, Tim Booth of the Seattle Times, and then our MLB insider, Ryan Divish. All brought to you by Chalet Bowl. This is why we were an hour late to the show today. A treat this week on our weekly visit with Ryan Divish, which is always brought to you by Chalet Bowl. As Divish knows, Chalet Bowl, Washington's oldest operating bowling alley, proudly serving the community since 1941, located in Tacoma's historic Proctor District, family-owned and operated for 40 years. Book your next tee time at chaletbowl.com. We thought as we got closer to the end of the first half, we thought we have Divish on every week. But let's bring on some experts, guys that have actually been covering the team this year on a daily basis. And that would be Adam Jude and Tim Booth of the Seattle Times, who have been.
Want to bring on Daniel Kramer? I mean, like
we could have brought on Kramer too, but I thought we would get the 2 guys that have basically been carrying your weight all year long. What do you have to say, Divish? What do you have to say to Jude and Booth for taking care of you all summer? What would you like to say?
I can tell him I'm thinking I'm extending my sabbatical for another 6 months. So,
thanks, appreciate that.
I mean, poor Tim Booth is in New York right now. It's like 130 degrees. He's like in New Delhi heat, and he's dying, for God's sakes, man.
It's not like he has hair to keep him, like, you know. It's not like he has hair to cause.
So while this is true, while you are correct, and I thought Houston was bad in May, this is as bad as Houston was in May, and I thought Houston was the worst mix of just absolute insane heat and humidity I've come across. This is, I think it's the concrete and the subways and everything just kind of adds to it. But I mean, I'm on an Alex Akita 10 shirt kind of plan here, trying to get through the next 3 days.
We've somehow lost Adam Jude. Adam Jude is dropped off. Hopefully Jude will come back on. Maybe he was Divish, he probably just didn't want to hear your excuses. He probably didn't want to hear anything.
Right now he's like submitting his letter of resignation, thinking, oh my God, if he's really going to do this.
Yeah, he's like, if he holds out for another few months, I'm out. I am out for sure. If he's not coming back, I'm not coming back.
Let's be honest. Jude just wants to be a stay-at-home dad at the end of the day. So I mean, really, I mean, you're just giving him the excuse to do it. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, like honestly, that's going to happen sooner rather than later. Adam's wife, who's far more successful than he is, much like my girlfriend, and much like Tim's wife, they're far more successful than we are. At some point, though, Adam will just look at it and she'll tell him, "Hey, I need you to stay home and clean the house better," and that's what's going to happen with Adam.
All right, we'll get Adam back on here in just a quick second, but I thought we would spend here on this show just, I mean, looking at the first half of the season, for the Mariners and where they're at and where they're going to go. I mean, the good and the bad and what needs to improve. And Tim, let me start first with you. What right now? What are they? 48-43.
Yeah,
their record. Where are they at right now? What have you observed here in the first half of the season of this team?
I think they're at the record that they probably should be at. Like they play as though they're about a 3 or 4 game team above 500. That's the team they are. Is they're they're an 86 and what would that be, 86 and 76 kind of team right now. We see the deficiencies in the lineup. We see the lack of power coming from the corner infield positions on a regular basis. We see, the issues Julio has with not hitting for power. We see, the lack of production in, right field, for instance. We see some of the concerns about the bullpen, but you also see Brian Wu turning into an absolute stud, and you see Andres Munoz being the best closer maybe in baseball, and you see Matt Brash coming back from TJ surgery and picking up right where he left off. And then of course you see Cal Raleigh in any other year would be the runaway MVP favorite right now. So that kind of leads you to be where they are, where they're 5 games above 500. I kind of wrote it last night, but I think this stretch right now, going into the break and coming out of the break, is really going to tell the tale of where they go from here, because you're playing 4 straight series against playoff caliber teams. And if you needed a litmus test to see truly where your deficiencies are and where you might need to really address going into the deadline, if you want to be a playoff team, the next couple of weeks I think are going to give you a pretty good indication of what that might be if you weren't already completely aware of it to begin with.
I mean, Divish, same question to you. I mean, listen, you're not there every day, but you watch from afar. You pay attention as much as anyone. What have you observed from all the way over there in Havre, Montana, how they've played here in the first half?
Yeah, pretty much the same thing Tim mentioned, but yeah, they're a good team. They're not a great team, and they have the capability of beating a lot of teams, but they're not good enough. Like, they don't have enough talent or depth, or they just are going to, one, I think, accelerate themselves in the AL West standings, and then 2, to really lock down a wild card spot where you feel comfortable where they're going to be. I just don't look at them and say I see 88 wins right now, 89 wins, 90 wins. I mean, I see about 85 wins if you're lucky. And that's just because it's for them, sometimes it's really difficult for them to win when they don't get just outstanding starting pitching. When they, and it's so similar to what we saw last year and the year before. Like, their pitching will always keep them competitive, especially their starting pitching, like what George Kirby did. But they don't have the talent or the depth or the kind of the hitting power to beat teams, when your starter gives up 5.
This is
and not every team does, but they don't have that.
I mean, for both of you, this is kind of the reoccurring theme, is it not? I mean, this is kind of what they've been here in the last few years, because when you're describing them, they're not built for the regular season, but it's a team, it appears, that it's built for the postseason. Would you agree with that? But that feels like, Divish, they've been stuck in that same mode here for the last 3+ years.
Yeah, we've said that about them. The problem is you actually got to get to the postseason to see if that's true. I mean, that's the problem, and that's the sort of the relevance of a 162 game season. It's not like you put together this team designed for the playoffs. You have to earn that spot by being good throughout the regular season. It's kind of what was crazy about like when the Rangers won it all that year. Their bullpen was not a division winning level bullpen. In the last 2 months of that season, they basically, were the reason why the Mariners and the Astros climbed back into that race. But then when you got to the postseason and you could manipulate the bullpen, you didn't have to play every day, and you could use essentially 3 arms the entire time, then that's how they won. I mean, that's the problem with the Mariners is like, I don't think anybody's questioning the Mariners, like the talent that they have of their key pieces is, high level talent, but it's like the overall talent of the 26-man roster and the contributions from the overall of the 26-man roster throughout the course of 6 months isn't commensurate enough to really keep you to really think that they can do something more than they've been. I mean, they have to add, you just look at it, there's too many spots of their lineup where you think, okay, the production that they're getting from that spot in the lineup is below league average. I mean, I think we all like Ben Williamson. I think his defense has been even better this last month. The at-bats have been better, but there's just a lack of power. Okay, and everybody says, well, you can make up for that if you have power in other spots in the lineup. Well, you're getting power from one spot in the lineup, catcher, and some power from recently from the left fielder. Center fielder hasn't given you as much. Right fielder's been kind of hit or miss. I mean, like, and first base, you're not getting power. I mean, those are premium positions where you're not getting power or production that is needed to carry you to be something better. Like, what are they behind in the division? 6 games or 7?
6.5.
6.5. That's the thing. It's like, oh, it's just 6.5 games. No, it's not. For a team like the Mariners, that takes 3 weeks to overcome 6.5 games, because that means because the Astros don't really look like they're a team that's going to drop 7 or 8 in a row, do they? So the Mariners aren't really a team that's going to rip off 10 in a row. So it's like it's going to take time. It takes weeks to make up 7 games in the division. Is it possible? Absolutely. But like what we're seeing now is they're not capable of having runs like that. Yeah, they beat the hell out of the Pirates, but this stretch here with New York and then the Yankees and then coming out of the break, like Tim said, that's going to determine where they really are. I mean, like, and the weird thing will be is whether or not the ownership group and Jerry Dipoto believes that they can compete for something, like if it's just the division, if they can't get the division title and they're only going for the wild card, will they invest heavily in the wild card or in a team that's in a wild card situation? They should, because as we've said, it's built for the playoffs, but you don't know. Like, yeah, Yankees, Tigers, and then you've got the Astros, Brewers coming out of the break. I mean, like, it's going to be that's where you kind of know where these guys are and where they're not.
Tim, before you answer that, let's we got Jude back on. He was able to finally get his internet connection to work.
When you live in Southwest British Columbia in the middle of nowhere, that's why you don't have any internet.
Still talking about
all right, hey. Yeah, well, yeah. We hold on before Adam. Before I'm going to ask you the same question. Tim, answer that the same one with Divish. Like, again, it's a team that again for 3 years it feels like we keep saying it. If they just get in the postseason, they just make it. They're kind of built for that more than they're built for the regular season. But just to piggyback on what Ryan said, it's like, okay, great, but you have to actually get into the postseason.
Yeah, and it highlights, I think Ryan brought it up perfectly at the end. It highlights the question of how ownership is going to look at this deadline, because the wild card in the AL is there for the taking. Like Boston's not going to be there. Baltimore's not going to be there. Most of the AL Central doesn't look like it's going to be there right now, as the Tigers have kind of run away with things. I mean, you're kind of competing within a trio of the Yankees, Rays, Blue Jays, and maybe throw in the Angels or the Rangers. Like, there's no reason why you should not be competing for one of the wild card spots as we get into September. But to do that, you have to address these deficiencies that they have. And so to Ryan's point, that's the big question, is how much does ownership want to buy into the idea that a wild card is satisfactory enough or suitable enough, because back to the original point, you are built for the postseason. So just get in the damn dance, like figure it out, go spend what you need to, go do the moves that you need to, give up the prospects that you need to in order to fill some of these holes that are clearly obvious, just to get in. And then if you get in, okay, then you roll out there it's like 22 all over again. You roll out Castillo and Kirby and God knows what else, and you have the pitching and the setup of your team in place to potentially do some damage in the playoffs. So yeah, it's the same question we've had for the last 3 years. Yeah, they're built for the playoffs, but you don't have a roster right now that looks like it's capable of even getting there. And I think it goes back to exactly what Ryan said. Like, is Jerry Dipoto going to be given the freedom to go do the moves that he needs to do to maybe take on the salary they need to take on in order to fix things to the point where we're not asking if they're a playoff team, we're asking when they get into the playoffs, how much damage could they do this year?
Hey, Adam, I'm sure you're going to kind of have a similar, answer to the question I asked these guys earlier, just about 48 and 43, 6.5 games back of Houston. I mean, there's been ups and downs to this first half of the season. How would you summarize what you've seen so far from this team?
Yeah, just to piggyback too on the deadline stuff while you guys are while it's fresh. I mean, all indications are ownership has said, like, go make the move you need to make. I mean, obviously at the end of the day, they've got to sign more or less a blank check to kind of acquire somebody. But I would take it a step back and be like, who's going to be available? Right now, it's going to look like the most boring deadline we've had in a long time, because Booth, I'd kind of push back on that. I'm looking at the standings. There's all but 2 teams in the American League that are really out of it. That's the A's and the White Sox. Even the Orioles think they're still hanging on. They're only 7.5 back of the Mariners for the third wild card. Like, they go, if we have a good 10-game stretch, maybe we're still in it. They're refusing to give up at this point. So as we talk about it here on July 9th, I mean, I just don't know what's available out there. You could say, yeah, Ryan O'Hearn makes a ton of sense from the Orioles. Josh Naylor would be the perfect fit for these guys. Arizona's, there's no indication they're selling right now too. So I just don't know who that guy's going to be at this point. I just don't know that there's going to be very many sellers out there, and the sellers that are out there, who do they have that you would even want anyway? There's a reason they're bad, because they have a lot of bad players. So you can talk about wanting to add impact bat. You can talk about wanting to add payroll, but who are those guys? And, so I threw out Alex Bregman a couple weeks ago now, and as slim as that looked even a couple weeks ago, it looks even more unrealistic now, because the Red Sox are on the heater. They're chasing down the Mariners. They're only 1 game back. They're not going to be sellers. And again, even if he was available, yeah, it's a fair question. Would the Mariners ownership take on $12-13 million salary for the final 2 months? But again, these are all hypotheticals at this point. We're less than 3 weeks away from the trade deadline, and we have no idea what's even going to be available. And so that just makes the market that much murkier, because you're going to have to overpay. Are you really going to give up Harry Ford, 6 years of Harry Ford for 2 months of Josh Naylor? That's what it's going to cost you. I just don't know if that's realistic, A, even if he was available, and B, can you really stomach that? So it's going to be really interesting, I really feel like 48 hours up to the trade deadline, because no one has really defined themselves as sellers at this point.
You
but
guys,
I mean, like, Adam,
go ahead,
like, it's whether or not you can stomach it, but can you stomach missing the postseason by a game?
100%.
Again, I mean, that's the one thing is it's like, and the guy in charge, which, who knows? I don't really know how their ownership structure, their ownership's philosophy works. But I mean, like, Jerry Dipoto is one of the longest tenured general managers. If he doesn't make the postseason again after all of this, I mean, like, you can blame ownership and stuff for tightening the budget on him and tightening the strings around what he can and can't do. But at the same time, it's still his responsibility to put together a major league roster that can somehow, within the confines of their budget, go get that. And I mean, if that means giving up Harry Ford to get there, then, you wonder too, you don't want a GM or a president doing stuff to save their jobs. But ultimately, like, they can't miss the postseason again. You look at where they're at right now, given all the injuries they've had and given what's happened this season. You don't have Kirby for essentially a month, month and a half, and then when he comes back, he doesn't look right. All the stuff with Bryce, to be where they're at right now, I think they're pretty fortunate. And then, like, you can't just assume all the time that they're going to make. If you're the ownership or you're the front office, you can't assume, well, we're good with how we are. We need to stockpile this, because what happens, so what if they don't make it again? You have the number 2 farm system in all of baseball again for another year, but you don't have a postseason appearance. I mean, like, that's the line they have to walk, because I think ultimately that's, the goal is not to accrue the most talent in your farm system. It's to win at the MLB level, and they haven't proven that they can do that. And you're right. Like, there's not a lot of options out there. They're going to have to get really creative, or they're going to have to overpay. But I do think, like, some of these teams that are close, like the Twins and some of these teams that are kind of on the fringes of the wild card, they're going to do the classic that Jerry always says, buyers and sellers at the same time. And that's maybe where you find somebody as well.
You guys want to follow up with that?
I would just say, yes.
Well,
I think, sorry, Tim, real quick. I feel like they're going to do what they have to do. And, yeah, I would trade Harry Ford for whatever you have to do to add an impact bat. Shoot, they might even add, you mentioned the Twins, go out and get one of their high-end relievers. You can add, you can add wins in different ways, right? If the bat's not available, you go out and just add another high-end reliever to the back end of the bullpen or something too. Like, I think they're going to try to get creative, but that's at the end of the day, can they do more than just try? And again, to your point, Ryan, they have the resources to do it. They have the prospects. They've got a thumbs up from ownership at this point to go add a little payroll. So there are really no excuses. It's just a matter of what's available out there.
Well, and I think back, I don't remember exactly where the Rays were in the race last year when their Rosarena trade went down, but it's going to be, I think of Boston, for example. They already dealt Devers to the Giants. Obviously, that was a unique situation, but does Boston, even though they signed Bregman in the offseason, do they view this as a reset opportunity? Yeah, they're right on the heels of the Mariners right now, but do they make, Jarren Duran available or someone like that they could pick up a couple of prospects to help them in the nearer future and, able to deal off someone of that caliber? Like, those are going to be the windows, I think, of opportunity where Dipoto's got to find something, because you're right. Right now it's the White Sox and it's the Rockies, and who the hell do you want from either of those teams?
Hey, you look at the Red Sox, though, and everything that they've done. They're a game back of Seattle, and they're playing great. I think they've won 8 of their last 11. I mean, it's like, if I'm a Red Sox fan and I hear anything about ownership or the front office saying, well, I think we're going to sell off some guys, I'd riot there. I'd be like, what are you doing? You got rid of a guy that you thought was a, quote, malcontent in your locker room, or didn't get along with people and didn't do things that we wanted to do. We bring in this influx of talent. That appears to be good. Story's back. Though Bregman will be back, I'd be like, we can win this. We can get in the playoffs and do damage as good as anyone.
But you can make the same argument about the Twins. Like, the Twins could have the talent to put something together at some point. They've got pretty good starting pitching. Like, there's so many teams that are on that edge. I'm just saying, like, that's the kind of feeling out that they're going to have to figure out. If you want, like, if you don't want to be picking from the dregs of Major League Baseball right now, if you're going to do something sooner than later before July 30th or on deadline day, it's going to be finding those teams that say, okay, we can part with this guy because maybe there's someone in their system, or maybe they just feel like they're a better team. They can be a replacement. They have a replacement level guy already on their bench. And finding those kind of windows of opportunity. Maybe it's Boston, maybe it's Minnesota, maybe it is Arizona by the time we get down the road a couple of weeks. But that's the needle that they're trying to thread right now to figure out if there's something actually viable out there besides picking from the really bad teams.
You guys can follow up with this, but Adam, I want to go back to something you said, because I just know if Mariner fans are watching and listening to this, it's nothing that you said that was wrong. It's what they have said. They'll roll their eyes at it, and they've been given, Jerry Dipoto's been given assurances from ownership that they'll spend. But it's the same thing that Mariner fans would say. I've been hearing that forever, and every time when it comes to the point where they need to spend, they don't spend. So I guess I would ask the question for them is why would this year be any different? Why would they overpay for someone at the deadline when they really have never done that?
Well, I would point to Luis Castillo and Randy Arozarena. They would tell you the Mariners' argument would be we added payroll to bring those guys in. In Luis Castillo's case, they signed him to a long-term extension too. So that's what the Mariners point to. Again, it's two different buckets, right? It's two different things. There's the free agent signings and the free agent money, and then there's the acquisitions at the deadline and guys already under contract. So when they say we can add, they're talking more like, $5 million. I don't even know if it's up to $10 million. I don't have a specific number, and I don't think the Mariners do too. They're like, hey, case by case scenario, if it's the right person at the right time, we'll strongly consider it. But again, you look at what they did last year, they added 3 guys at the deadline, and I think that's sort of their blueprint of what they would like to do. Again, an impact bat and Randy Arozarena, a veteran like Justin Turner, and then a 7th, 8th inning relief guy like they had with Jimmy Garcia, who immediately got hurt. But again, it's that sort of, if they can add 2 or 3 guys at this deadline too, I think that's their ideal scenario. Again, I don't know if the ideal is sort of in play for this one too, just given the landscape of the playoff picture right now. But I think that's sort of their blueprint at this point. But again, it's 2 different things. That, again, people were pushed back. And again, Alex Bregman was certainly not the first name I had thrown out in sort of the trade deadline preview a couple weeks ago. But people jumped on that and were like, well, he was just a free agent 6 months ago. Why would they have not done it then? It's a completely different scenario. It would have cost you upwards of $200 million to convince Alex Bregman to come here. Right now, it's only going to cost you $12 or $13 million, which, yes, is a lot for 2 months of work. But it's a completely different scenario, 12 or 13 million versus 200 million. And again, the Mariners are just, they're pretty risk averse. He's got opt-ins, but no one expects him to opt in at this point, too. And then if he does, guess what?
Bregman can
turn around and trade him.
Bregman can make the decision to go to Seattle, when he was a free agent. If he gets traded, he can't.
Exactly. And that's why the Mariners, they've recognized this. They know the best way to bring in a Randy Arozarena, an impact bat, is to either draft and develop them like they did with Cal Raleigh and Julio Rodriguez, or you have to trade for him because guys just do not want to play at T-Mobile Park, and for good reason. It's got a reputation for what it is. It's just the reality of the situation.
Tim Booth, Harry Ford, is he a Mariner, a month and a half from now?
No. I mean, he's the most obvious piece you can move to get something substantial, simply because he doesn't have a path. So if he's dead set on catching in the majors, what's his path? I mean, you've got the freaking one of the MVP leaders for this year sitting in front of him, your team leader, your team, North Star at this point. Deal him. Take advantage of him being at the highest point of his value he might ever be at. And no disrespect to Harry, but send him along, say thank you very much for developing into this kind of prospect, and get something of substance for drafting him, developing him, and getting him to this point.
Adam, and then Ryan, you can follow up with this. Adam, you brought up a name, and we've talked. Divish and I have talked a lot about Josh Naylor. I love Josh Naylor, and if they were someone like him, and I'm not specifically Naylor, but someone that's like him, that's under the current contract situation he is in, where he's not under contract for next season. Is this one of these things where you need to get can you get assurances from him? Like you're going to re-sign? Probably not. It's a lot to give up to rent a guy for the last couple months of the season if you don't think you're going to have back when you're giving up one of your top prospects for that guy. But Adam, you feel like someone like it fits Naylor's profile. That's what it's going to take, Harry Ford, that someone like that to get him.
Yeah, and even that specific one, again, I just threw out Harry because he's the most obvious trade chip the Mariners have. He's not a perfect fit for the Diamondbacks. They have a young catcher who's really good. So they might not even want him. They might want a Johnny Formello or, I would imagine a lot of teams are starting with either Cole Emerson or Laz Montez, which I don't think anyone's untouchable with the Mariners, but it would obviously have to be, more of a star and someone in club control for multiple years. And again, you look around the landscape of baseball, who is that? People started throwing out Ronald Acuna Jr. in the last couple of days. That's not happening. Why would the Braves trade the best contract in baseball and one of the best talents in baseball right now? It just doesn't make any sense. Even if the Mariners are going to offer him basically a Juan Soto package, I still have a hard time seeing the Braves pull the trigger on that. That said, Josh Naylor, again, we keep kind of circling back to him just because he fits what the Mariners need. It'd be great to have for them another left-handed bat, a guy who can DH, play first base, and also has a reputation as a bit of an edge in the locker room too. And by the way, he's got some encouraging postseason experience too. So he fits in so many ways. At the same time, Ryan O'Hearn has had a really nice year. I think if you look at his second half last year, that will cause some teams to pause a little bit. The Orioles don't have the best reputation. You look at the trades they've made the last handful of years. They haven't made many. And things I've heard is that they're kind of difficult to deal with as well. So I'm not sure if that's something that the Mariners are going to be able to forge something there, just because the Orioles have a reputation of asking for the moon and being a little bit difficult to deal with recently. But it'll be interesting. Again, you step back too, there aren't many contending teams that need a first baseman either. So maybe that helps the Mariners because, if it's only 2 or 3 teams, the asking price isn't going to be as high for a Naylor or O'Hearn as well. But again, still hypothetical. We've got a few weeks to go. Maybe one of those teams really falls out of it. Arizona obviously missing Corbin Burns, their ace. Everyone kind of looking at them to see if they sort of bury themselves here in the next couple of weeks. But it's going to be interesting. I really feel like it's going to come down to the last 48 hours or so, just because of the way it's shaken out so far. And obviously the Mariners expect to be in it, and we'll see.
Divish, what do you think about Ford?
I thought he was getting traded last year. I think I said that on our Adam and I's former podcast that no longer is in hiatus, that he was going to be traded because they were trying to move him. They were trying to use him as a player that they could get him something in return. He's a better player now, and his prospect value is actually higher now than it was a year ago at this time. What he's doing at the AAA level. I've talked to a few scouts. Some of the questions about his defense have improved. I don't think he's the greatest receiver in the world, but athletically he's really good. He gets on base. A lot of people think he's figured out some of the stuff offensively that were question marks. So I think his prospect value is highest. But teams also know that the Mariners don't have a place for him. I mean, they really could put him on their roster and do something with him. They'd have to be creative. It's not like he would never play, but the true value to a team is his true value to a team would be higher with someone else. So I mean, Farmelo is a guy that a lot of people really like too. So you put together a package of players. I will be interested to see what the Braves do because they do have some pieces that they could move, and they're out of it. But I guess Jared Kelenich's available. But I don't know what they'll do because they're one of the few teams too that's kind of really fallen out of it, and they aren't. They're operated by a large financial company anyway, so they are a little bit more savvy about money, but trading, as Adam said, trading away Acuna on one of the most team-friendly deals. I know he's rubbed some people the wrong way in the organization, and him and the manager have had some issues too, but that's just not something you do because they still have their core in place to run it back next year. They had a lot of injuries to their pitching staff, and I just think that, that would be pretty crazy to make that kind of a trade. And the Mariners would probably still have to give up some major league talent to get there. It's not just Colt Emerson and Laz Montez. You would have to put a major league starting pitcher, whether it's Hancock or Bryce Miller or somebody on there, even Bryce Miller hurt. They would have to do that. So, I don't see there's no other than Naylor. There's no absolute guys you look and say, okay, that's going to happen. I mean, Suarez too, for that matter. But that's the interesting thing is Suarez and Naylor make a fair amount of money for the 2 months too. It's not just the prospect value you're giving up, but you're giving up, you'll have to spend money. And I mean, then again, they're also paying Mitch Haniger $15 million not to play this year. So it's, it'll be interesting to see, we'll know a lot more about these teams in the next 3 weeks, where they're at. I think it'll become a little more clear that teams who are willing to sell will open up. But yeah, I mean, looking around, you read some of the stuff and some of the stuff Adam did on the trades and stuff. Yeah, it's not ideal. There's no ideal scenario out there for them because there's a lot of teams that are just holding on. What would be interesting too is if you're Boston and you really think you want to try and find a way to get Bregman to come back next year, trading him away isn't going to help you in that process. I think Bregman would be dumb to leave Boston right now if he had a way to stay there, or tell him, hey, look, I'm opting in for one more year, because that's the ideal place for him to hit. And they have a nice nucleus of players, young players around him. I mean, like, he's the guy you want to be leading that group of young players. So we'll see what happens, but either way, regardless of what happens, Mariners fans will be pissed, because they'll be the group that says, well, we gave up too much prospects, or we didn't do enough. It's always, there's never going to be any happiness.
You can't please everyone. Tim Booth
it's a large group of teenage girls. Somebody's going to be pissed off at somebody else for something that they did.
That's true. Tim Booth continues to melt New York City. I mean, I could just see him melting away there in the heat. And for those listening, literally, there's just pools of sweat coming down to Tim's face. It looks bad, though. It really does.
I have a glow about me.
There's been some great storylines. Yeah. I mean, there's been some great storylines, obviously, in the first half of the season. I mean, clearly none bigger than Cal Raleigh. Tim and Adam, and then I'm going to start with you guys first, but Tim, you go ahead. I mean, you watch something like this on a nightly basis. I don't know. It's in a. I remember covering the team when Ichiro was on that hit streak and setting the single season record. That it does not carrying the same weight like this. That team was bad, and he's hitting singles, and I don't want to take away what he did. It doesn't have the same power that Cal is doing, and certainly the position that he's playing. And it's like, I mean, you kind of run out of things to say about him on a nightly basis, I would imagine, Tim.
A little bit. I think the moment that kind of encapsulated where we're at with Cal happened on the last homestand, where I think he came up in the seventh inning. It wasn't a night that he homered, but the entire lower bowl was standing. And I'm thinking, when's the last time in the seventh inning of a game in July or late June or July, whatever day it was, you have the entire 100 level kind of standing in anticipation of watching an at-bat take place, because we've gotten to the point where it's just kind of like, you feel like it's going to happen almost every time he's up at the plate. Like last night, he came up in the eighth inning, and I'm watching, I don't even remember who the reliever was for the Yankees. He gives up that rocket to Julio, and I'm sitting there going, Cal's going to freaking homer here. And sure enough, he did. And it's just, we should never be to the point of expecting that kind of result from any sort of hitter, but you kind of are right now from Cal. The way that he's just been locked in from the start of the season it's you're right. You kind of run out of words to describe, what we've seen. Obviously the average is up overall, but just the consistent basis of which he is making good barrel contact, and the amount of times that's resulting in the ball going over the fence and leaving the park. It's one of those weird, it's one of those weird things that you just, we should be amazed by it, but in some ways I'm almost not amazed by it. But then you put it in the historical context of, no Mariner has ever hit this many before the break, and only, 4 other guys have hit this many in baseball history before the All-Star break. Like, we're talking about Cal Raleigh in that same context. It's just kind of, it's a little astounding that he has put himself in that place with the work he has done just to become a better overall hitter. And this is the result of that.
Adam, for you.
Yeah, I would say obviously, Cal's the star. Cal's the biggest sensation in baseball right now. So obviously it's been pretty incredible to chronicle and see up close every day. At the same time, I would say a close second in terms of storylines for the Mariners is just the starting rotation and the injuries more than anything. We've said this the past few years, right? They've been so fortunate with the injury luck the last few years, and that's been a big part of their success. Yeah, those guys are talented, but that's just modern baseball, right? These guys are maxing out with every single pitch, and it just feels sadly inevitable that at some point they're going to blow out. And they're all bang, bang, bang so early with, 60% of their starting rotation, George, then Bryce, and then Logan Gilbert. And And again, I think the biggest story going into the second half of the season is, can they get Logan Gilbert specifically? But they need Logan and they need George to be, 90% of what we know they can be. And again, coming off the injuries, that's a lot to ask, I feel like. But the Mariners have to be really encouraged by what they've seen from George over the last month, really. He's been back to form. He had those two ugly starts coming back. But again, since then, I think he's got a 2.6 ERA. So George looks like George. Luis looks like vintage Luis lately. Ryan's really excited talking about pitchers here. But, I honestly, you add on top of what Brian Wu has been. This has been, almost an entire year now of what Brian Wu has been. This is who he is at this point. And so he's really become your established ace. But again, if you can get Logan, you can get George. I think this team has a run in it. You look at them, 48 wins through 90 games with all the injuries that they had. I feel like that's probably your best case scenario. Again, just with this offense, they're going to be inconsistent. That's just who they are. They're going to play at home for 10 days, and it's going to be low scoring games. That's just who they are. That's just what this ballpark is. And so they're a streaky team offensively, but if you can get a little more consistency and health from that starting rotation, I think between Logan Evans and Emerson Hancock, you feel okay about that number 5 spot. They're going to be okay, and that's all you need. If Bryce Miller's able to come back, I'd honestly look at him as a bullpen piece at this point. I think that makes sense. He's not going to love that, but if you can get him for the final 6 weeks of the season and slot him in, either long relief or guy just coming in throwing bullets in the 7th inning, I think that's a pretty intriguing option too. So to me, for all that Cal Raleigh has done, to me, the injuries to that starting rotation are almost as significant. And getting some stability there in the second half of the season is obviously going to be huge for this team.
Divish, I know you have a special place in your heart for Cal and just for catchers in general, and I know you like me. You adore the morning show there on MLB Network. There's a variety of reasons why we love that show, and there's really one in particular, and her name's Lauren. They asked a question this morning on Wednesday morning, and I think Mark Doros asked this question: if Cal Raleigh was wearing pinstripes, would this even be a debate?
No, probably not. They'd be writing poems and shit about Cal in New York, and there'd be songs like, because the one thing is just like he has that kind of everyman quality to him, whereas Judge is this like mythically large human being. I mean, he is a unit, like when you stand next to him. Yeah. And Cal is big, and he's a large human too, but like Judge makes him look small. But like Cal has that quality that I think everybody can kind of gravitate towards. And he's so kind of self-deprecating and available that I think, they would, and then they would really kind of work into the fact, like the appreciation for Cal isn't the home runs. Mm-hmm. Like Adam knows this, Tim knows this. The appreciation for Cal when you cover a team is what he does on a daily basis when you watch him and how he goes about his business and the things he does every single day. Truly, like when you're at spring training, and Adam knows this, and I wrote a whole story on this, you watch him during one spring training day, it's like the most exhausting thing you'll ever see. And then you throw into and that's all the baseball responsibilities. Then you throw into the fact that he's willing to sign autographs for an hour, take pictures, be that kind of available guy for every fan and everything. It would be so different because like they would eat up. Like Judge by nature is a quiet dude who can be kind of, I wouldn't say aloof, but just distant because he handles his responsibilities well and stuff. Sure. There's almost like a Jeter-esque quality to him. He knows, I'm this dude and I don't know that Cal's capable of doing that. And I think that would be the biggest thing. I texted with Cal because I saw the video of when he was a little kid that his dad sent Kramer. And he's the man. I won the home run derby, and I go, I'm going to need you to recreate that video if you win the home run derby in person. He goes, well, if I win it, I'll do it. So that was hilarious. I mean, like that was the thing is like I already thought, and I've written this that Cal is probably one of the most important players in the organization for any number of reasons. And then doing the research on it, talking to his dad. That a couple of years ago, I did the story where he's watching his little brother play in a game and, in Georgia. and just kind of seeing that, it just kind of solidified my thinking on his importance. And yeah, no, I'm super happy for everything he's done. But at the same time, like they need more. They need more from somebody else, because I'm not gonna say like regression, but the pace he's on is just so ridiculous. Like they need somebody to help. Maybe it's the Julio time. You're getting on the road. You're playing in some heat. Maybe he gets going. But yeah, I don't know. I'm like, you look at. I know Adam and I had this conversation in the spring a little bit, but like we talked about Cal being so important, and then we were talking about JP and what it would mean if JP could just even be something close to what he was 2 years ago and not what he was last season. And we're seeing that, so you're getting that. You're getting contributions from JP that you needed to get back. Cal's doing otherworldly stuff. Randy's been good for the last few weeks. He's always going to be hot or cold, kind of like his personality sometimes, but like, it's the other guys that are going to have to find some traction, whether it's Raleigh getting going or, Polanco's been okay. It's really weird, though.
He's been terrible since May.
Yeah.
Polanco? God.
But
he's worse than last year.
I mean, like, somebody asked me why he wears the weird circular sunglasses when he bats. And I was like, because have you ever seen his eyes when he hits? They're like the size of apples, So,
Jesus, man.
But like, no, I don't know. To me, I just think this is a good baseline team that, like, with one or two pieces, could be really significant. Like like Adam, I was just thinking that about Bryce. Like, if you can just get in, if you just can be good, and you sell Bryce on the idea, hey, you're part of our rotation, but for the last month and a half of the season, we need you to come in and just straight cheddar at these guys as hard as you can throw it. Just go fastball, split finger, sometimes slider, and wipe guys out. And then you can have a guy. Then you can have Then you could have Bryce, Brash, and Munoz to go with Gabe Spire. That changes your entire math in a game. Like, you get into a 3-game series, because that's another thing. Like right now, if you had a 3-game series in the wild card, you're not using Bryce in your rotation anyways. Do you remember what George Kirby was like when he pitched 1 inning of relief against the Blue Jays? It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. So you go in and you have, you're going to have probably George and Logan if you get into a playoff series, whether you go with Luis or Wu. I would think Wu, obviously, but then you have all these different pieces. So like, yeah, just stay where you're at, keep winning. Maybe you aren't challenging for the division, but then when Bryce comes back, because he can also tell him, say, look, we know you're going to have these bone spurs cleaned up after the season. This will put less pressure on your arm. We're going to do it this way. You're not going to have to throw 100 pitches. We're going to use you for 25, and then you get a day off, and we use you 25 again. Like, there are a lot of people that thought coming up he was always going to be a reliever in the first place because of his body build and the wear and tear he put on his arm.
All right, I want to end with this before, again, I want to be real cautious of Tim's health there in human New York City. With it, I think we'll try to make this quick, but it probably won't be quick. Julio Rodriguez. I mean, there's been the topic all week, and people are just screaming at each other left and right. Tim, and you guys all go around the room, and then Adam can go, and then Divish can go. Should he have been an all-star?
I'm fine with it. I mean, his defense has been off the charts, and whether it's the metrics or just the eye test, he's been short of the ball. He bobbled last night. He's been exceptional defensively. Yeah, the offense. The offense is the offense right now. He seems so scared of striking out that he's given up the hope of slugging, unless it's an absolute, the pitch that he got last night that he hit for the double. So at some point he's got to reconcile with what he is as a hitter, but defensively, he's probably the best center fielder in the American League defensively right now. So you can quibble with it. I'm fine with him being an all-star because ultimately the all-star game is about showcasing the names of the league, and Julio's still one of the names of the league, even if he's being completely overshadowed this year by what Cal's doing. So I'm good with it, even though I understand why people are having debates about his worthiness this year.
Tim or Adam, were you surprised when you heard his name?
We had gotten a little heads up the day before that, he'd gotten fairly overwhelming support in the players' vote. So I wasn't stunned. That I initially was like, oh, okay, because we knew he'd be on the fence anyway. You look at his WAR; he's top 5 in the AL in the outfield, and again, it's a pretty fairly thin class, and AL outfielders is certainly part of it. But Tim nailed it there. I mean, he's a marketable star still in Major League Baseball, whether the hardcore, most critical Mariners fans want to recognize that. And to me, I'm looking at all-star selection again a little bit differently. Like, it's not what you do for 2.5 months. I mean, you look at what he's done over the last year, his second half last year. That has to be a factor too. And then you look at what he's done over the last 4 years. Like, again, he's still a name brand. He's still got all the charisma in the world, the smile, the flat. Like, he is one of the guys you want there as the face of the sport. That's what Major League Baseball wants. Now, if he doesn't pick things up in the second half and he has the second half like he did in the first half, and we have this discussion a year from now, maybe it's a different scenario. But, he's still a guy. He's still got all the personality and charm in the world. And those are the guys you want there. Now, to me, the question is they're trying to fill out these last, couple of spots here in the home run derby. I think that's a bigger question. Like, do they turn to Julio at this point? Hey, man, we know you love this. You're a star in the home run derby. Is this something you would consider too? That's something I'm waiting to hear about in the next couple of days too.
Where you sit, Divish, your thoughts on his first half, but his thoughts on him making the All-Star game?
It's a TV show. It's entertainment. It's a 3-day event to celebrate baseball. I mean, like, Julio's good for that, and the players chose him. Okay, like, game recognizes game, talent recognizes talent. I think they see him and they realize, yeah, that guy's pretty good. And I don't know how much. I doubt that they put in the research and they're going through the WAR numbers or his WOBA or his WRC plus. They certainly, I think, with Mariners fans, they're conditioned to remember everything that's happened in the last few months, specifically the negative more than the positive. I kind of wonder, like, I was talking with one of my buddies here, just if the amount of heat and criticism he would take had he not signed the huge extension, which isn't that huge in the all long run. I mean, he has to get all these escalators for it to be massive. But I think we have a set of expectations with Julio, and they're tough to live up to. He has a high set of expectations too. He hasn't been great, but I mean, like, to me is like, look, if you're not hitting well and you're not, hitting at the level you think, then you better make up for it in other ways. And he has on the bases and he has in the field. So he's just trying to contribute to win. I mean, I do wonder, sometimes I wonder what his approach is when he's up there. Like, to me, there's a set of games I was watching where his approach seemed to be, I'm going to swing as hard as I can at the first pitch. And if I don't hit that, then I'm going to go super defensive and just try and not strike out over the next 3, which is like kind of a weird approach. It's something that some of my players seem to have at times. But like, at some point he's got to figure out what he's trying to accomplish at the plate. And it just can't be avoiding strikeouts or just simply putting the ball in play. There has to be a fine line of, like, what he's up there to do, especially with runners on base, is damage. Do damage. How do you hit the ball hard? How do you get extra base hits? A lot of people are obsessed with homers. Just get some doubles, for the love of God. You're one of the fastest guys in baseball. Get some doubles, find some gaps. And he hasn't been doing that this year. If he does, if we see kind of who he is, they're going to really take off. I mean, like, that's all they're missing is some of a threat that's around, something more than just Randy around Cal. JP's been getting on base a fair amount of times. Some of the bottom of the order guys get on base okay. But, like, Julio's got to do damage. I mean, you're asking a lot for 2 rookies to contribute as much as they're trying to contribute. And so, I don't know. I wasn't surprised that he made it, because I just how players vote, And a lot of times, like, God bless the players, they don't follow it that closely. They're probably asking the clubhouse guys. I remember one time I was in there and they were doing the All-Star stuff, and one of the players asked me, well, who should I put on here? Who should I have on? And I looked at his list. They go, he's hurt, actually. He's not even playing this season, so they don't know. But I'm happy he's going. I think it's good for the game. I think he should hit in the home run derby. Screw it. Last time he hit in the home run derby, it seemed to help him. Go hit in the home run derby.
That was great. Guys, I took up a lot of your time. Tim, I'm sorry for you because you're the one I feel the worst for because you've been sitting outside in that New York City
He could have
heat
stayed
with
in his hotel room, Puckett.
ambulances and police chasing people all over the place.
He
Fine.
could have stayed in his hotel room and just hung out, but instead he wanted to get out and go be exercise guy and walk the park and do all that stuff.
And now I'm going to go get a giant bagel sandwich.
Yeah, there you go. Tim
There's only
Booth.
2 things you should eat when you're in New York, Tim: bagels and pizza. That's all you eat there.
Yeah,
Yes.
carb
Never
load.
eaten.
Already ate the pizza, going for the bagels.
Yeah. Tim Booth, Seattle Times.
So-
Catch all of his work, and he's on the. Are you for the whole road trip?
I'm on the whole road trip. Yep.
Whole road trip. So you can.
New York,
Because Jude
Adam,
doesn't
you're
work
a
road
dick.
games anymore.
He does.
Adam's a
He's
dick
got
for
New
doing
York
that.
and Detroit. And so follow Tim there on social media. Also read all of his work up at Seattle Times. Get yourself a hard copy, seattletimes.com. Adam Jude, who apparently just covers the team at home now, I guess. Adam Jude.
Wow. I'll never forget Puck.
But he's
before
the
he goes.
best. He does all the Sunday stuff.
I
He's doing a
know.
great job. Both these guys have been doing a great job filling in for you.
This is like their.
Have you told
I'll
them
never
that
forget-
how good they've been have been for you?
Yes, I thank them every
Okay.
day.
Okay.
Puck, the one year when Adam was first starting to travel more, and Cal walked up to me and goes, "I noticed you weren't in Detroit and Oakland on this last trip." I go, "He did you?" He goes, "Yeah, that Adam guy is having to do all these cities that you obviously don't want to go to." And I go, "Yeah, Cal, can't really argue with you there. That's exactly what it is." He goes, "So I'll see you in San Diego?" I said, "Yep. You won't see me in Anaheim, but you'll see me in San Diego."
Hey, Adam, what do you got coming up in the Sunday paper? What are we working on for this week?
Actually, doing something like that. Got a few phone calls lined up today to catch up with some folks. And, looking forward to that. Yeah, just trying to answer the question, how the hell is he doing this? Obviously become a complete hitter, and just he made some interesting adjustments over the winter, and it's obviously stuck, and it's a pretty interesting hitting profile, and he's obviously in another stratosphere right now. So I'm digging into that a little bit. Pretty excited about it.
Perfect. Well, check it out, Seattle Times, and again, seattletimes.com. Divish, of course, with us every single week, brought to you by Chalet Bowl. Book your next reservation at chaletbowl.com. What's next up for the Havre North Stars?
Well, we weren't going to practice today, but after dropping the doubleheader, or dropping the second game of a doubleheader where we committed 3 errors in the last inning, we're practicing today. It's supposed to be 101 here. So I might go pants and sleeves. We haven't decided yet. And then we play Saturday, Sunday here at home. And we're getting close to the district tournament. So we are having we dropped to, we're 19-3 in conference now. We'd won 10 in a row conference games, and we dropped to 19-3. So I don't know. I'm going to blame my buddy Cookie Face, who was the announcer for yesterday's game.
Okay.
As the reason why we dropped those games.
Good luck to the North Stars. Tim and Adam, thanks for doing it. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys, and we'll catch up down the road.
See you guys.
I think you can guess there at the end who had the internet problems, huh? Jesus, I mean, he's a good-looking guy. He's a talented writer. Got a son and daughter that can play baseball and softball, but Adam Jude gets them. We're gonna make it work for Jude and his internet there at the Jude compound. But again, we got it up. 55 minutes of our Mariners roundtable. Big thanks to Adam Jude and Tim Booth of the Seattle Times, of course, are filling in for Ryan Divish as he takes his summer sabbatical to coach his stepson's baseball team there in Havre, Montana, who, despite splitting yesterday a doubleheader, lost the second one by committing errors at the end. I think it was because the manager put in somebody he shouldn't have put in. Going to make them practice today in 100-degree heat. What a dictator. But big thanks to those guys, and especially for Tim. Tim's on the road with the Yankees, or with the M's playing the Yankees, and so he had a lot on his plate this morning, but they carved out an hour to spend with me early this morning, and we eventually got it on the air. But good stuff from all those guys, and we'll see what the second half. I mean, they've got, 5 more games here to finish off the first half of the season, but the second half will be, I think we've used the word interesting, intriguing many, many times, I think, in that hour-long sit down, and it certainly will be because they do have a lot of pieces in place for them to be a good baseball team and to be a baseball team that can, I think, make some damage in the postseason. They have what always travels. It's like running the ball in the NFL. If you run it, it travels. Defense travels. And pitching and defense travels at all stages, all levels of baseball. And they've got that. The problem we started off that chat about was they just don't have it enough. They don't have enough to get into the playoffs. And that's the problem with them the last few years. Last 2 years, they miss it by a game. They don't have enough to get in. So you can hype up all you want about how great it's been and God, they're built for the postseason. If we just get in, we make some damage, but you got to get in. And we touched in a little bit on it, but I think there will be a lot of people very curious at the end of this season if they do fail to make it, what this ownership group will do. Because I'll speak for a lot of you out there. I don't think anyone has any faith whatsoever in this ownership group. And what will they do if they miss out? They're 10 years on the job. Are they going to overhaul their front office? I would say right now on July 9th, if they miss it again, I don't think they will. Unless it's some epic collapse. Like if it's where they just completely go down the toilet and miss it by a number of games and never in it in the last, couple weeks of the season. And it's so much negativity around the team, then maybe. But if they follow a similar script where they have the last 2 years, where they fail by a game, I don't think this ownership group will make a change. I think they will say and will be convinced by this front office, look at all the injuries we had to go through. Look at the injuries to the starters. Bryce Miller, George Kirby, Logan Gilbert. We lost Victor Robles. We lost Luke Raley. And I think he will convince them to bring him back again. And again, the bar set for this organization at times of what the standard should be remains low. All right, so again, big thanks to Adam Jude, Tim Booth, and of course, Ryan Divish, because he's the star of the show, our MLB Insider Ryan Divish. Again, that weekly appearance brought to you by Chalet Bowl. Please go visit Chalet Bowl. Go book your next reservation at chaletbowl.com. Washington's oldest operating bowling alley, proudly serving the community since 1941. Now that whole segment will be a part of the Daily Puck Drop. If you just want just the baseball, just those guys, for Puck's Posse members, sign up today if you want to watch and listen just to that, isolated. Sign up to be a Puck's Posse member, pucksports.com to do so. All right, before we wave goodbye, so new audience. Hello, new audience. I don't think I've ever been on this late. We're into your lunch hour, so if you're having lunch, hello, how are you? We know that this is the best choice you can make it at 12 o'clock. Trust me. I know. I hear from you every day. Hey, What the Puck, brought to you by Restoration One in North Seattle. It's your restoration company that lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when those damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. MLB just announced a little while ago that during the All-Star game next week in Atlanta, they are going to use the automated ball and strike system, right, that they currently use in the minor leagues. You saw it if you went to spring training. You saw it in the spring training. You're given 2 challenges with the ability to retain them if you're successful. And then again, it's only the catcher, pitcher, and hitter that can use and ask for that challenge. This has got widespread support, and it's supported by everyone. The fuddy-duddies, the new school, I would assume most managers, coaches, players, everybody associated with baseball. Umpires, I don't know. I am one on the record. I think these guys do a better job than a lot of people give them credit for. I really do. I think there is always going to be one or two calls during a game in which, okay, yeah, they don't get it right. Yeah, it's human nature. It's the human eye. I mean, the sport is played by humans, and probably should be officiated, ruled, governed by humans there as well. It's going to happen. Technology is so crazy nowadays with the EQC tracer, and you see, you'll hear the announcer, "Oh, that was a bull," and then they'll show it, and they'll, no, he actually got it right, clipped it. He clipped your little box there. That's a strike. Guys are throwing harder than ever, more spin than ever, harder to pick stuff up. I think I enjoy sports to a degree where there is a human element to it, to where, yes, there is a factor where someone can make a mistake. And hopefully I'm articulating this properly, and how that team or player overcomes that mistake made by an umpire, a referee. And I think that should always be a part of sports. I'm not saying technology shouldn't help out. And I'm not saying technology we're more advanced in technology and video and all that shouldn't be used. I get leery of how much technology can be used in today's sports, how much technology can be used really in society, how much we depend on it nowadays, rather than just kind of depending on ourselves, right? In that whole AI world and things like that. I mean, it'll be the next step toward umpires being replaced. And I think and then I hear the argument, well, no, they need to make, calls at home and safe. Until when? Until what technology is available to, I don't know, you have an AI bot now that's behind home plate? They're simply watching it, they can tell whether he was safe or not. I mean, it will get to that point. How far away is it? I don't know, but I do enjoy sports for the human element. I'll tell you the other thing I like about sports, and especially that sport in particular, because it's really the one sport where you can kind of have players and referees and umpires yell at each other, is that. I love that element of it. I love for a player who thinks they're getting squeezed to go and bark at that home plate umpire. I love that. I just think it's the part of the fabric and character of the game. I do. There's one element of the game that has, been passed on now, and I get it to save time. I don't know what it saves you, 30 seconds. I don't like just putting up 4 and put them on first base. I liked when they had to throw 4 pitches. There's several reasons for it. One, when you do it, it allows the crowd, the build up, the chorus of boos and disdain for what the other team is doing. Ball 1, boo. 2 gets louder, 3 louder, 4 the loudest. I like the catcher getting up, putting the hand out and walking, stepping out to grab it. And the occasional where the hitter gets a little too close to the plate and hits it. The ambushing of the intentional walk, they've taken that away. So yes, there's more advances in the sport, but I think some things should be kept human. And I just think this being the ABS being put in place again, there's still going to be the human element of it for now, but that will eventually change there as well. I guess the whole point of it is I think they get more right than they get wrong. But that being said, I was at a spring training game this year where I think they're playing the Reds. I think Cal challenged 3 straight times. Hell, it might have been 4, and he won all 4, which was pretty awesome to watch. All right, that's a What the Puck, brought to you by Restoration One in North Seattle. It's your restoration company that lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when those damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. Thank you for your patience today. Sorry that we were late getting to the show, but we made it. We gave you a full 90. Big thanks to all of our guests today, Ryan Divish, Adam Jude, and Tim Booth. I believe the go-to guy will be back on Friday. He's traveling all over the place, but I think he's not doing any golf marshal jobs, but he should be back tomorrow. Thursday show, of course, we'll talk some NFL with Mike Garafolo. We'll talk a little more baseball with Brad Adam. Mitchie the Kid stops on by from Mitch Unfiltered, world-renowned podcast. Big thanks to all of our sponsors today, Limback Lumber, Chalet Bowl, and, of course, Restoration One. Today's Daily Puck Drop, find it up on YouTube. Please subscribe to the channel. Also, find the Daily Puck Drop on your favorite podcast platforms and of course, at pucksports.com. When you're there, please sign up to be a Pucks Posse member. $5 a month supports all the free content we do, plus bonus shows there as well. Our MLB Insider show with Ryan Divish, that included Tim Booth and Adam Jude today. Sports Pit with our KJR brethren, alums, Steve Sandmeyer, Matt Stretch Johnson, and tomorrow's visit with Mitchie the Kid, Mitch Unfiltered. He joins during the live show, and then once the live show is over, the only place to watch and listen to it is on the Pucks Posse page. Also producing now the Graz with Gas Take 5 podcast, which you can find on YouTube and your favorite podcast platforms, and, of course, up at pucksports.com. All right, enjoy the rest of your day and your lunch. Appreciate. Thanks for sticking in, despite the weather delay that delayed us there by an hour. We'll talk to you tomorrow, as always, and we mean it this time. Promise to be better.
No shoes, no ties.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for?
We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!